You're listening to the Vocabit podcast, where I help students improve their vocabulary for the SAT, ACT, and life itself using my unique and research-backed story-based method. On this podcast, I'm sharing the best tips and tricks for a more enriched vocabulary and pain-free test day. Hello, and welcome to episode number 22 of the Vocabit podcast. I'm Erica Abbott, a former English and history teacher, the author of the young adult novel Ahead of Her Time, and the founder of the eponymously named vocabulary company, Vocabit. So I want to be careful with this episode because this isn't a current events podcast. But with the way of the world lately, it seems almost irresponsible not to address certain issues. COVID-19 was one of them, and what happened to George Floyd in Minnesota is another. I grew up in Minnesota, and I'm just sickened and horrified by it. We all have to do our part to root out the racism and systemic inequalities that make tragedies like this possible, but I think that those of us in education bear even a little extra responsibility because education is one of the best tools that we have to level the playing field. And oppression, by definition, can only occur when there's an imbalance of power. You can't have two equally strong people oppressing each other. There's a reason that slaves weren't allowed to receive an education, and it's because, cliche as it sounds, knowledge is power. The smarter and more hardworking you are, the better a job you are probably going to get or create. The better the job, the more money you'll make. And ultimately, money wields more power than almost anything else in our society. So as long as certain groups are not receiving the same quality of education, that whole chain of events becomes skewed, creating these power imbalances. I spent a lot of time over the weekend thinking about how I and the amazing Vocabit community, you guys, can help, how we can not just talk about it, but how we can actually help. And this is not a dig at all against social media because it is incredible what has been achieved through the power of social media. But I didn't just want to send out a tweet and be done. I wanted to do something more, and I wanted to do something preventative. A lot of what has been going on is reactive. We're reacting to something that has already happened. And don't get me wrong, that is crucial. If you think about it in pandemic terms, you obviously need to react to what is going on. But ideally, you prevent those things from happening in the first place. And I wanted to add something more preventative to the conversation so that hopefully the next generation doesn't have to go through what this and so many others before us have. And even if it takes more than a generation, we have a responsibility to continue moving the needle forward. So for the next month, I'm partnering with you, the amazing audience at Vocabit, to do a buy one, donate one promotion. If you get an annual Vocabit membership in the month of June, I am going to, out of my own pocket, donate one to someone in need at no additional cost to you. And what's so great about this is not only are we rooting out one of the greatest enablers of injustice and oppression, which is a disparity of access to education, but a rising tide lifts all ships. Think about all the societal potential that we squander by not giving every single child access to an incredible education. How many more doctors could we have right now? How many more entrepreneurs who could make life better for all of us? It takes only one person to find a cure for a disease, to invent something so amazing that someday we won't even be able to imagine living without it, yet I don't even know what it is right now. A more educated society enriches and benefits all of us. So from a logistics perspective, here's how this is all going to work. After you check out, you will be taken to a page where it will ask if you would like to designate a recipient. Maybe you are a mentor, you do big brothers, big sisters, something like that, and you know who you want to give that extra membership to. Just enter their name and email, and I will take care of the rest. If you don't have a specific recipient in mind, you just want to help, that's totally fine. I am creating Vocabit scholarships, and your purchase will give another student a full ride. I don't know how to solve the world's problems, but I do know that until we address the inequities at the heart of our education system, it's going to be a lot harder to affect deep-rooted change. Oppression is a human disease, and like all diseases, there are things that you can do to exacerbate it, and there are things that you can do to contain it. Oppression thrives when there's a stark imbalance of power. And it shrinks when times are good, when people are educated and too busy coming up with awesome ideas for how to make a better future to be cruel to one another. We have a responsibility not just to react to what is happening, but to change the system that enabled it to occur in the first place. There are a lot of different ways to contribute right now, and you need to do whatever feels best for you. If you'd like to join me at Vocabit and help further access to high quality educational materials, you can get all the details at vocabit.com. That's VOC and then Abbott, like my last name, ABBETT. If you're already a member but you'd still like to donate, just hit reply on your podcast accompaniment today. Let me know how many scholarships you'd like to donate, and I will send you a custom order form. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in and helping out with all of this. I will see you on Thursday.